Oh, hello, my baby gorillas, and I hope we fixed it this time. Let's just check, make sure there's no nuisance now. Are we in? Are we in? Aloha. Let's just check, find out there's no. Oh, that's good. Sounds good to me. Sounds good. Sounds good, ladies and gents. Think that's us, guys. Think that's us. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, fantastic. Let's have a wee look at this. What are we talking about today? Homosexuality. Oh, fantastic. What a great subject. And I think it's very important to stay right from the start. I am very much pro gay rights, and I'm believing gay marriage, and I'm very much a libertarian liberal. So I believe in human rights and gay rights and things like that. So I don't have a problem with gay. I'm not. I don't have a phobia, an irrational fear of people who were born gay. I just don't have that. I'm very much pro gay rights. Hi guys, how you doing? Thanks for waiting. Thanks for your patience. I appreciate it all. I know I've not been well, and with that wee technical screw up there. But I love the fact you guys are so dedicated to the cause. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I love this wee pop-up thing here now as well. Don't even have to use it on my phone now. I can just see you on my wee pop-up, which fits in perfectly. So I'm very much pro gay rights and pro, uh, because I'm a libertarian and a liberal. I'm very much for. I don't mind other people's sexuality. Don't mind people dressing up in women's clothes. I don't have any irrational fears about all of that. There are communities that do, maybe ones that are more religious. Uh, but I think there's certain things that I probably didn't factor into in politics when I was supporting of the LGBT community, and I didn't realise that they were going to become SJWs and have one rule for one for another, depending on how it suited them. Yeah, well, I'm not feeling better. Probably need to go to the hospital. I'll probably go to the hospital tomorrow, so I'm not better, no. But I am. I wasn't feeling. Well, I was feeling under the weather yesterday, but I'm feeling okay just now. But I still need to go. But got sneeze. Oh, excuse me. So what have we got here? Let's have a wee look at the LGBT community. And obviously, as a minority community, there is a requirement for protection so that they're not abused or not taken out of the political process. But I just wanted to run down the details of this. So this is from the National Office for National Statistics, or the Office for National Statistics, and this is about the LGBTQ community and whatever other letters in the alphabet are after that. So the main points are the proportion of the UK population aged 16 years and over identifying as heterosexual or straight has decreased. Well, obviously, now that I'm a lesbian trans woman, I can see why it's decreased. So it's gone from 99.4% in 2012 to 93.2% in 2017. So it's the number of homosexuals has risen. So it's between, let's just round it up to between 6 and 7%. Over the last 5 years, the proportion of the UK's population identifying as lesbian, gay, or bisexual has increased by 1.5% to 2012. Now, Milo is coming out as, I don't know if he's coming out straight, but he's certainly coming out as something other than being gay. I'm not sure if there's a problem with him and his black boyfriend, but there seems to be a bit of an issue there. So that's increased from 1.5% in 2012 to 2% in 2017, although the figure is unchanged from 2016. So that's quite interesting. Over the last 5 years, the proportion of UK population identifying as lesbian, gay, or bisexual has increased by 1.5% in 2012 to 2% in 2017. So that means only 2% of the population are LGBTQ, LGB. So let me just read that again because that's quite interesting. Over the last 5 years, the proportion of the UK's population identifying as lesbian, gay, or bisexual has increased from 1.5% in 2012 to 2%. So it's quite strange. I don't understand the first paragraph that says the UK proportion of the UK aged 16 and over identifying as heterosexual or straight has decreased from 99.4%. So it doesn't really make sense. I don't know what the gap would be from the 2% of the LGB to the 7%. That's at like a 5% difference virtually in the not identifying as straight or heterosexual, unless that 5% are non sexual. So there would be only 2% of the population identifying as lesbian, gay, or bi, although uh, the latest figure is unchanged from 2016. In 2017, there was an estimate of 1.1 million people aged 16 and over identifying as LBGT or LGB, not T's are out of the UK's population of 16 years and over of 52.8 million. Males 2.3 were more likely to identify as LGB than females at 1.8% in 2017. Very interesting because I think ladies are probably more potentially more bisexual than the men, or certainly more interested in women. This obsession with sexuality leads to heterosexual males as the villains. That's right, that's correct. This is where I'm going to go with this. It's only a matter of time until our kids are being lectured and pressured to experiment. God forbid they choose to be straight. Well, that's what I'm saying. So this is really the tail wagging the dog. Even these sort of proportions, if that's 4.1% are gay or lesbian, then it's a very small percentage. People aged between 16 and 24 were most likely to identify as LGB in 2017, 4.2%, which is about the average. But regionally, regionally, people in London were most likely to identify as LPG 2.6, with people in the northeast of England the least 1.5. 69.4% of people who identify themselves as LGB had marital status as single. Oh, so there's a lot of single people in the LGBT, never married or in a civil partnership. I would also like to know how many of them had children as well. That would have been an interesting statistic because obviously we've got a declining population, and if people are not interested in having children because they're gay or lesbians, then that might be an issue for population replacement or population growth. So we estimate that 4.2% of people aged 16 to 24 identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual, a higher proportion than for older age groups. Around 7 in 10 of the lesbian, gay, or bisexual population are single. And they have never married or registered a civil partnership. So there's a lot of single gay people about. This reflects the younger age structure of this population, and that legal unions for same-sex couples are relatively new. Things you need to know about the release. Well, I think if anybody wants to read more about that, that's quite an interesting article. So let's look at the First Minister. This is in the Sun, and this was dated the 16th of February 2020. So, off the wall, Nicola Sturgeon laughs off scandalous rumours about exotic double life amid wild gossip at Holyrood and Westminster. Now, this predates what I'm just about to show you what I actually said. Uh, Nicola Sturgeon yesterday rubbished claims she's living an exotic double life amid a torrent of gossip about her in high circles. Scandalous rumours about the First Minister's private life have swept Holyrood and Westminster in recent months. So there she is there, looking very happy. Miss Sturgeon laughed off the baseless claims in an interview with the Sunday Times. Now, it got to me through a different channel that Nicola Sturgeon was in a lesbian relationship with a French journalist. So the fact that somebody's, I mean, I'll bring up Ruth later, but people being gay isn't really a big thing, with the exception of it seems like the LGBT community are also, or certainly the ones in power. You can't say that with Milo or Douglas Murray, but the ones that are in power seem to be social justice warriors, which social justice warriors are actual Marxists. So let me try and explain. When after the murder of tens of millions of people, about 100 million people under Marxism and communism, that George Galloway still simps for, oh, the long lost days of murdering people. So they've murdered more people than the fascists, the Nazis, everybody. Although both the fascists and the Nazis were both authoritarian left wingers, as I mentioned before, nationalism is not a right or left issue, or neither is ethno nationalism. Nationalism can be found in all four parts of the political compass. So it's not a left or right thing. What goes from left to right is capitalism. So if you're a socialist, you want the state to take over, or the workers to take over. You're libertarian socialist and extreme left, and you get increasingly more capitalist. In each of the four sections, there's globalists and nationalists, and it depends on where you are in the spectrum. You might be a globalist on the far right and the nationalist on the left, or you might be a communist on the left and the nationalists are slightly on the right. So that's why they can just brand everybody right wing, or nationalist or ethno nationalist, or whatever it is. So ethno nationalism is of a subset of nationalism. It doesn't necessarily mean if you're a nationalist you have to be an ethno nationalist, but that's a subset of nationalism. But nationalism is not a left or right issue if you look at the political compass and you're looking from a political science point of view. But after the deaths of hundreds of millions of people, or certainly tens of millions by that time, under Stalin, and what happened with I think it was about Jewish involvement and Russian involvement in the murder of 9 million people in Ukraine. The the Frankfurt School, before the rise of National Socialism, uh, started this identity politics and tried to raise the consciousness for the revolution, which you can see with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, who are one's libertarian, the Antifa are anarcho-communists and anarcho-syndicalists, whereas the Black Lives Matter are Marxist, but they both joined together. The SNP have financial ties to Iran. I'm going to come on to Iran in a minute here. Maya Tusi claimed today his video that she has a secret financial ties to Iran. I'm going to come on to that in a second, but that could be right. So obviously this is correct. They changed it. And when the National Socialists in Germany kicked out the Frankfurt School, because there were a lot of Jews in the Frankfurt School as well, and there was also something similar that happened in Paris as well. The Parisian school started this sort of toxic extreme leftism. When the Frankfurt School got kicked out and they went over to, I think it was Columbus University, and then now it's permeated through the education system. You've got to understand that the word racist comes from Trotsky. He was the first person to actually, the racism had been used before, but the word racist came from Trotsky's book. I can't remember which one it is, but it came from his book. But that all of these sort of ideologies are all meeting up into to wokeism and SJW, and all of this is just a front for the underlying Marxism, which it actually fronts and then uses identity politics to front it so it can forward the Marxist agenda. So this is where I'm going with Nicola Sturgeon. So Nicola Sturgeon looks like she's lying to Scottish people. Not that we really care that she's a lesbian. We all accept gay people, or the majority of, especially the liberals, libertarian liberals, accept gay people anyway. But it looks like she's lying again. Heard that married? What's Marion saying? That's because she's claiming to be fair with the election coming up. Of course she is, but I mean she's not proven that for 4 years. She's not proven to be a fair. And Humza says you've had too much to think. You need to go to jail. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I saw that. That was a brilliant. Whoever put that poster up was absolutely brilliant. So Nicola Sturgeon may well be in a lesbian relationship, which explains the fact she's had no children, and the fact that Penfold, her husband, also looks gay. It could be like a Philip Schofield marriage of convenience to deceive us. And I'll show you how it all plays out as well. So, and how the LGBT community is massively overrepresented in the Scottish Parliament. If it's 4%, or if it's 7%, if it's 7% at the top, but if it's 4%, then they're massively overrepresented, and I'll show you that in a minute. But Miss Sturgeon laughed off the baseless claims that I'm not a lesbian in an interview with the Times, where she told how she'd heard them all. All right, so maybe she's living them all. First Minister added, "This sort of exotic double life that I'm supposed to be leading is damn sight more interesting than the actual life I am leading. Yeah, bringing in bad legislation through Humza useless. It shouldn't be. It's a disgrace. She's not. She does not have a scintilla of truth or basis in reality. It's just a complete off the wall." Well, I heard it from other people that this is actually happening. Punting it there, in my opinion, Humza is homosexual too. Well, I think he marries somebody else, and he's not got kids either. So that's quite an interesting one. But he'd be in big trouble being a Muslim if he was homosexual. I'll come on to that in a minute. So, gossip about Miss Sturgeon has been circulating for several years in political circles on social media, but the false claims relating to Mrs. Murrells, I would think, not Mrs. Sturgeon. They all call her Miss Sturgeon, and you notice that she's not taking her husband's name, Mr. Murrells. Private life, which her aides have been aware of, have intensified in recent months. I see it. So maybe that's because it's coming out of the woodwork. In the interview, the First Minister also spoke out against sexism and misogyny, but not misandry. You can see how this lesbianism may have a problem not actually identifying their own misgivings. And she said she was a rising SNP star. She said when she was a rising SNP star, she encountered sleazy men. Oh, sleazy men, oh, was it? Well, I guess if you were an alleged lesbian, that all men would be sleazy if they were actually approaching you in any sort of suggestive manner or made even suggestive jokey remarks. This could well be unwarranted, couldn't it? She said she was She said she had an uncomfortable lunch in her twenties with a senior journalist who leered at her chest. Now, I don't think anybody would leer at Nicola Sturgeon's chest unless there was something on her jacket and the journalist didn't want to say. A policewoman for Dunblane. Well, I heard there was something happening in Dunblane. Yeah, that's the shabby. That's what the word on the street was. That's get back to me independently. That's not through. Although I have heard a long time ago about the gay mafia in the SNP from people in the SNP, not that I've got any first hand knowledge of it, but that was there was the thing about the gay mafia that had filtered into my ears. And if Nicola Sturgeon is a lesbian, then it would make sense because the things that are going to come up again is the fact that there is this gay mafia in the SNP. And she had an uncomfortable lunch in her 20s with a senior journalist who leered at her chest. Now, I, I haven't paid any attention to Nicola Sturgeon's chest, but it's not very noticeable. And it's not something that I think most heterosexual guys would be actually staring at. It's probably a bad haircut that would do it. How do you feel, David, that you will need to go home from Hollywood before 6 p.m? Humza's going to curfew you. Yeah, let's see him try that one. Miss Sturgeon said that Me Too movement had helped her to realise she had tolerated male behaviour. Now, so a lesbian misandrist has to tolerate male behaviour, but by today's standards was unacceptable. All right, so you've decided what's acceptable and what's not, and then you've forced it and foisted it on other people's. All right, and I guess if you're a lesbian, all male behaviour could be seen as unacceptable because you're not really interested in men, are you? Especially not that you've had any kids either. Don't know she had a chest exactly, Malin. Exactly. But even if the guy was looking at her chest, why is that guy not got the right to look anywhere he chooses or say anything he wants? That's the problem. Now we don't because of Humza Useless's what chest? Fucking I know. So, but now they want to tell you what to say, or they'll put you in prison, and they'll tell you where to look. That was the biggest disgusting mess that happened in Scottish politics. That Humza Useless managed to pass that, and every one of those MSPs should be ashamed. How much more F's can this woman talk? Exactly. So she said it made a lot of people, me included, realise things that at the time just put up with. You know, guys kind of touching you in slightly uncomfortable ways and leering. Oh, so that would be really uncomfortable if you're a lesbian. So if I was, say, not a wet lesbian like look like Nicola Sturgeon or Ruth or Joanna Cherry, but a good looking lesbian who maybe I was attracted to didn't realise she was a lesbian. And I maybe said to her, listen, I quite like you, would you want to go for a drink? Or I touched her arm or did just touched her hand or did something that she didn't like because because she was a lesbian and she was a super straight lesbian. Super straight lesbian. A super straight lesbian. So then she wouldn't like it, but everything to a lesbian is going to seem misogynistic, and that's why we've got misogyny, not misandry, as a rule. because she's a lesbian, she thinks everything's misogynistic. She's only really going to be happy around other women. Like me, if they identify as a woman, then they could dodge the curfew. Well, that's right, I've dodged the curfew. My name's Dafty Ballantyne, and I'll know that I am a trans lesbian woman, but still super straight. Miss Sturgeon added sexism and misogyny was now not completely gone by the lesbians. It just manifests itself in different ways. Oh, look, there's wee Nippy in happier times. Look at that. Getting rid of another heterosexual woman. Nicola Sturgeon manically fist pumps the air on hearing that Liberal Democrat Jo Swinton has lost her seat to the SNP. Yeah. So, here's what I did. So, that's point number one. So, here's me outside the trial of Alex Salmond. Now, Alex Salmond was going through a difficult time, so I felt slightly guilty doing this, especially. But I did try and help him as well, so I do see some sort of recourse for doing this. But this is me on the back of what the Sun had written, asking Alex Salmond the question.
Listen, there's been allegations that Nicola Sturgeon's a lesbian. Is that?
Did you see? I think this is Alex's wife. This is quite funny. Did you see her telling me to F off? Let's watch that again.
There's been allegations that Nicola Sturgeon's a lesbian. Is that why she's complicating? Is that why she's making legislation for heterosexual sex? What's that?
And here comes the lesbian police of the LGBT community to make sure I can't ask any questions about the dear Führer's lesbian life.
Well, why not just you just interfered with the press there, officer? Why did you do that? Because asked to do by who? I was behind barriers, officer. You don't ever do that again, please, officer. That's a distinct lack of etiquette for the press. Thank you very much.
I thought that was rather good. Yeah, I've been groped by women in public as well. So have I, mate. I've been groped by women. I'm trying to think. I've probably between 10 and 20 times I've been groped by women. Women that I've not been in a relationship or not had a sexual interaction with. And but we don't get them charged, and we don't prosecute them. But it doesn't mean it doesn't happen the other way around. But it seems to have been weaponised. But that's not where we're going. Yeah, did you like that, Malin? I thought that was quite good. I thought that was quite funny. So that was me just clarifying whether or not Nicola Sturgeon may be a lesbian. So in Islam, homosexuality is punishable by death, which was written in the Hadith. So this is a nice guy. This Jimmy's former Muslim. And this is beautiful Ariel Scarcella. And she's beautiful. I actually fancy Ariel. I think she's lovely. Although she's a lesbian. So, still like her though. So, this is Jimmy just explaining about the punishment by Muslims like Hamza Useless and Anasawa. What the punishment is in Islam under Sharia law for A, homosexuals, and B, people who apostate, people who leave Islam. The punishment is death as well.
Legitimate Islamic jurisprudence, scholastic conversations around what's the best way to kill your gay.
Dear Muslim friends, if you've ever condemned Islamophobia on Twitter, today is the day to speak out and loudly and also condemn homophobia. Couldn't agree more. I too have noticed this disgusting trend even within the LGBT community. Everybody wants to be politically correct and nobody wants to call out issues within religions against gay people because they're afraid of being called Islamophobic. But I barely see anybody calling out the homophobia, the biphobia, the transphobia within the Muslim and Islam religion. And trust me, yes, it is actually homophobic.
And really they have varying opinions. You have 7 countries that apply the extreme interpretation of Sharia, including Saudi Arabia, where it is a punishable, basically, offense by the capital punishment execution. if the person is caught, of course, but you have to have witnesses that can provide that.
Recently on Drag Race, we saw one of the contestants wear a hijab as part of his act, and when Jeff Goldblum called him out and said this,
is there something in that religion that is anti-homosexuality and anti-woman?
It's a complex issue. I have my own misgivings about the way that LGBT people are treated in the Middle East. And at the same time, I am one.
He got attacked. He got absolutely attacked by the left. And I know many people that are going to watch this video that are on the left are going to say, but the Muslims and the Islamic religion doesn't believe that, or not every Muslim or not every Islamic person believes what the Muslim religion is teaching them. And I know that, obviously. But what is it like being a gay Muslim or being gay in an Islamic country? I just happen to have found one who's willing to tell his story. Here he goes. Keep in mind, we are continuing the conversation about being LGBT and Muslim or of Islamic faith over on my slug.com page. It's a website that prides themselves on the fact that they are, in fact, pro-free speech. We have a little group over there. Go to slug.com/Ariel and get involved in this conversation. There's only a few hundred of you or so I answer every single thing you guys post.
My name is Jimmy Bangash. I am, like you said, actually somebody who used to be Muslim and isn't anymore at the moment. So the term that I use, actually, and many of us use, is ex-Muslim, because we used to be Muslim, but we're not Muslim anymore. And
so Jimmy would face the death penalty and off the roof. Yeah, the second caliph threw gay people off the minarets, and they did that again under ISIS as well, throwing homosexuals off the minarets. But Jimmy, I don't know if he goes on to explain, I think he's already sort of explained it, but they do kill gay people in Islam.
That term is quite a politicized term, actually. The reason that people say ex-Muslim, and often you won't hear people say ex-Christian, for example, or ex-Hindu, is because there's some severe ramifications for leaving Islam.
Yeah, death, Jimmy.
And you'll lose your whole family. If you're in a number of countries, like 10 plus countries, if you say that you're not Muslim anymore, you can end up either being imprisoned, or some countries have the death sentence legal.
So they would kill him for being gay and for leaving Islam.
Punishment for that, yeah. Interestingly enough, those same countries have the similar death sentence for being gay and various imprisonment in other countries for being gay. And these are all in Muslim majority countries that we find them. So me, like a number of other people, have left Islam. Said, actually, you know what, this ideology doesn't make sense. Different reasons for different people, actually. Like, either logically it doesn't make sense, scientifically it doesn't make sense. Some people find it really misogynistic. Other people, like myself, find it all of those things, but also really homophobic as well. And we're like, enough, this doesn't make sense, and we need to start looking at it in a critical way and calling out the homophobia that exists in that religion and looking for data. So as you start placing these ideas under scrutiny and looking at the data, you start to realize it's just not true. I can't scream homophobia at everything. I can't scream white supremacy at everything. It's not the truth, and we have to look at the facts. And so I work for two organizations, really. So one of them is the Council of Ex-Muslims of Britain, which represents ex-Muslims in the UK. And then the second one is an organization called Free Hearts, Free Minds, where I work as the lead psychotherapist, and I provide mental health support to people who are still in Muslim countries who aren't Muslim but can't declare it and aren't able to get mental health support. And so then we meet over Skype and we do psychotherapy that way.
In the beginning of this video, I mentioned the whole situation with Drag Race and how one of the drag queens on that show came out with the hijab and was being, pro-Muslim. I happen to think, and a lot of gay people thought it was strange, that drag queen was promoting a religion that was homophobic and sexist and and all these things. But at the same time, Jeff Goldblum, who was a judge on that show, got a lot of hate for criticizing, that drag queen, and I think all he said was something like, "Isn't that religion homophobic?" There was a shitstorm thrown at him for that. Why do you think that's happening right now, especially like in Western countries?
Why did we have this almost "let's cancel Jeff Goldblum" response, which occurred, from the left? So maybe let me put that on my left-hand side. So why did we respond that way? But also, what do I think about the idea of a drag queen dressing up in Muslim attire? Yeah, so maybe they're two separate things. So let's go with the Jeff thing. I think it comes from a noble place, actually, Ariel. Like, it is like Muslims are a minority. They're often seen as an ethnic minority, even though Islam isn't a religion and we have white Muslims anyway. But these two things like race and religion are conflated, and Muslim is seen as an ethnicity somehow or some ethnic group. So often you'll get people called racist if they're criticizing a religion, which makes no sense. Here's a minority group. We don't want people picking on a minority. We know that when public opinion can turn to otherizing or objectifying a minority, violence can ensue. A minority group is much more vulnerable to violence because simply they don't have the numbers to defend themselves. Yeah. So I think it comes from this place of trying to protect them. But what goes hand in hand with that is also, a complete lack of critical thinking. It's like, oh, we've got to protect these people no matter what. Almost as if Muslim people are too fragile to explore or have criticism of their religion in the way that maybe Christianity has been criticized.
Well, we'll leave that bit there. So let's go on the back of Derek Mackay scandal. So there we go. So we've now got Nicola Sturgeon's right-hand man, Wales to ban men from 6 p.m. I would definitely defy that. Everybody should be out on the back of that. It's interesting that any group, be religious or political, that possesses to be the champion of good morals are the very people who have no morals. So speaks for the let's hear him speak for the first time. So I always like to hear both sides of the story. Shamed MSP Derek Mackay speaks publicly for the first time since text message scandal. Don't forget, this is like Nicola Sturgeon's right-hand man. So Mackay quits his senior government role in February after it was revealed he was talking to a 16-year-old boy. Now, yeah, I would never have thought that this guy may be gay. So not only that, he may be gay, but he's also the lead in a Boy Scout group. So he's in charge of a Boy Scout group. So I don't want to allege any sort of grooming there. There was an MSP from Lanarkshire caught with child porn on his computer. There's vids of police nicking him, isn't there? Right? So Derek Mackay has hardly been seen in public since his behaviour was exposed. Shamed MSP Derek Mackay has spoken publicly for the first time after he quit his senior government role over a text message scandal involving a 16-year-old schoolboy. Despite clinging on to a £6,500 a year Holyrood job, he has not taken part in any Scottish parliamentary business and has hardly been seen in public since his behaviour was exposed in February. Don't forget, he's also, there's one of the baby gorillas also said that he was involved in an African kids charity as well. I mean, really, and hardly was, but early today, the 42-year-old former finance minister spoke out about plans by Rolls-Royce to axe 700 jobs at their sites in Inchin, which is in Renfrewshire constituency. The firm wants to shed 90,000 jobs across the workforce as it struggles to cope with a downturn in work due to coronavirus. In quotes in Paisley Daily Express, Mackay said, "I have raised the concern about job losses with the company and the Scottish Government, and clearly the UK Government has a duty to act swiftly too. The Renfield workforce can be sacrificed because of the current economic situation when the expertise and performance of the plant is not in question. I urge the government to work to find a solution to save jobs which are affected. Now, I don't know if he was grooming this child who was only 16. I don't think, but the problem is not really if it was like the child was gay, and I don't think it's a problem. The child was over 16, but would I want my children going to his Paisley Boys Brigade club? I don't think I would. I wouldn't feel comfortable. And if that child was heterosexual and he's trying to bugger a heterosexual child, then that's a major problem. They're trying to encroach into heterosexual spaces, and that's Nicola Sturgeon, the alleged lesbian's right-hand man. So that's a big issue. So let's go back. Thanks very much, Jimmy. That was very interesting. So back to the reigning stuff. So apparently you were right in the fact that there must be some sort of link with the Iranians as well. So Nicola Sturgeon distances herself from controversial cleric who compared gay marriage to bestiality. Was the child 16 when it started? I don't know, mate. That's a very good point. Was the child 15 when it started? I don't have any answers to that. But there seems to be a gay paedophile ring floating at the heart of government, and I think it gets bigger. It goes into certain people in the media, certain lawyers, and there seems to be a sort of almost like a paedophile ring. Nicola Sturgeon at the highest levels, into the Crown as well, Crown Office. Nicola Sturgeon distanced herself from controversial cleric who compared gay marriage to bestiality. So obviously back to Islam again, and their dislike of homosexuals. They better hope that Nicola Sturgeon, they don't find out about Nicola Sturgeon. So I think it was a French journalist or French, it was a Scottish Bobby. So Miss Sturgeon twice attended a conference alongside a cleric who compared gay marriage to bestiality. That's interesting. I'll come back to that in just a second. By Georgina Hayes and Daniel Sanderson, the Scottish correspondents in the Telegraph, is it? Telegraph. So let me just skip back from that. So that's very interesting. Hamza Yusuf is a Muslim, and as we heard from the last clip, that Muslims want to kill gay people. So that doesn't make very much sense, does it? The Nicola Sturgeon has got him as the Justice Secretary. So I don't know how I get that. So First Minister pulled out. Oh no, that's not what I wanted to show you. Oh, there it is there. Nicola Sturgeon, a winner at the Gay and Lesbian Awards. Right, I see. So she's away with a guy, cleric that thinks that homosexuals are having dinner with guys that think homosexuals are like bestial. And that Nicola Sturgeon is getting Gay and Lesbian Awards, obviously, if she's part of the community in the First Minister, but it's under wraps. That's probably explains a lot, doesn't it? But she's still quite happy to talk to Muslims who, if she is a lesbian, would kill her. Wow, come on now, come on. But at the same time, bringing in laws through Hamza Yusuf, the Muslim, who, as Jimmy pointed out, under Islam would kill homosexuals, as the Justice Secretary, who wants to criminalise all the rest of us if we say anything bad against homosexuals or against Islam, they can say anything they choose. I see. So it's one rule for one for another, which is what the SJWs want. One rule for me, another for thee. And that's not going to last long. Nicola Sturgeon, a winner at the Gay and Lesbian Awards, the first ever Scottish Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender and Intersex Awards, took place in front of 400 guests, including First Minister Nicola Sturgeon and Lorraine Kelly in Glasgow last night. My Jack Russell. This was the Friday, the 11th of September 2015. And she's right at home in the community. Lorraine Kelly is false as AF. It's all coming out. So is Nippy. Yeah, exactly. And there you go. Yeah, that's her right at home. But yet, well, I'll read a wee bit more about this and then we'll skip back to the reigning cleric. Nicola Sturgeon scooped Politician of the Year at the Glitz held event in the foyer of the Grand Central Hotel. The inaugural awards ceremony with our sister paper Scotland on Sunday, a media partner who hosted by comedian Karen Dunbar in front of an audience made up of political leaders. Well, I'll come on to the political leaders in a minute. Journalists, community groups and organisations from across the public and private sphere who have turned a blind eye to Muslim child rape gangs in Glasgow and the Romani child sex problem in Govanhill in Nicola Sturgeon's constituency. Oh, it gets curiouser and curiouser, doesn't it? Singer-songwriter Horst McDonald performed at the event along with Pop Idol winner Michelle McManus and Glasgow favourite Robert and May Miller. There were 15 categories. Best Lesbian First Prime Minister or First Minister was given to Nicola Sturgeon. No, I'm only joking that. The two special awards including Outstanding Campaigner and Journalist of the Year. Scott Cuthbertson, Development Coordinator for Equality Network, said, "We are very," and that's another way they do it. So if there's any criticism or anything else, then they're able to silence it by words like homophobia, equality, but not taking into account their actions, which is a total get out of jail, as we'll see in a minute. So the development coordinator for the Equal Network said, "We are very excited in hosting the Equality inaugural Scottish LGBTI Awards. The past year has been an amazing year for LGBTI equality, with the first same-sex marriage happening across Scotland after many years of campaigning. Progress on LGBTI equality and human rights would not be possible without the hard work of the First Minister, support of many people, groups, organisations from all over Scotland. It's those people we are celebrating at the awards. Our nominees represent the best advocates for equality and human rights in Scotland." He continues, "Our lifetime achievement has been awarded to Derek Mackay QC for his numerous accomplishments in the field of LGBT equality over many years, and in particular his work on decriminalising of sex between men in Scotland, which took place 35 years ago this year. The second award, Equality Network Friends for Life, has been awarded to Anne and Joe Pazzario for Parents Inquiry Scotland for long-standing work supporting parents of LGBT people. We would like to congratulate all the winners." So let's go back and actually talk about the Islamists. So there's been up there again. Nicola Sturgeon. I don't think I'm going to get much out of this. I'm not going to get much out of this. What does it? Just let's read the first bit. Right, Peter. Nicola Sturgeon has distanced herself from controversial Islamic cleric who compared gay marriage to bestiality, but her spokesman refused to say whether she regrets sharing a platform with them. It gets deeper and deeper, doesn't it? Unbelievable. This lot have killed the SNP party, not the Scottish people. Yeah, that's it. Or not even some of the members in the SJW wing of the SNP have killed the SNP. There were good people in it. Is Viagra in the SNP water the are full of rages, rages, the dark time old dirty habits that bring in cover from the silent phrase that covers the P's are all a danger to the children. Yeah, that's right. This is an attack on children to cover a disgusting act. Well, don't forget, Islam is a child rapist death cult. The Prophet Muhammad was a sexual slave trader and a rapist, and he also was married a 6-year-old girl, had sex with her, and it said in Pakistan. I'll bring this up just now so you guys can see this. Pakistan, child marriage on Islamic. So, here we go. So, Pakistan prevented from banning. So this is in the Independent, not exactly a far right publication. Pakistan prevented from banning child marriage because it's un-Islamic. So child rape in Islam is Islamic. So that is part of Islam, child rape. So that's and we've obviously got the head of Labour now is a Muslim and obviously believes in child rape because he's a Muslim, because it's not Islamic not to. And we've now got the Justice Secretary who is Islamic and believes in child rape as well. I mean, it's quite incredible in Scotland. So the Independent Journal, Pakistan lawmakers have withdrawn a bill to Pakistani lawmakers had to withdraw a bill aimed at curbing the practice of child marriage after a prominent religious body declared the legislation un-Islamic, which means it's anti-Islamic, which means it's written into the doctrines of Sharia law that it's okay to rape kids. And this is all potentially linked up into everything else that's going on. The bill, which proposes raising the marriage age for children from 16 to 18, also called for harsher penalties for those who would arrange marriages involving children. Despite the law in place, child marriages, particularly involving young female brides, and I'll show you this in a minute about the Christians, are coming in part of the country. It's estimated that some 20% of girls in the country are married before they're 18. Well, we get married here at 16, so it's not that big a deal that way. But if it was under 16, then it starts to become a big deal. The Council of Islamic Ideology, a constitutional body which gives advice to Parliament on compatibility of laws with Sharia, which is the Islamic law, appeared to slap down the legislation after deeming it un-Islamic and blasphemous, according to Agence France Presse, which must be the French, some sort of agency in France. It had already handed down a similar ruling in 2014. The council had gathered in the past. I don't know. Anyway, 2013 report AFP, it suggests making DNA inadmissible evidence in rape cases, instead calling for a revival of an Islamic law that makes it mandatory for a survival to provide 4 witnesses. So a woman getting raped has to provide 4 witnesses to provide witness to say that they've not been raped. Marriages as 9-year-old in Islamic law. Well, the Prophet Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6 and consummated it at 9, so she had sex with him at 9. So, Girls Not Brides, an international coalition of civil society organisations working with child marriage, cites this religious body as an obstacle towards reform. A number of provinces in Pakistan have pushed for legislation cracking down on child marriage, but implementing the law is more difficult. Clerics on the council object to the minimum age requirements, arguing instead that individuals can marry once reaching puberty, which can be as early as 9, which is exactly what you just said there, bud. So obviously that's a big issue. So this is her distancing herself from the cleric who compared gay marriage to bestiality. Miss Sturgeon twice attended the conference alongside the cleric who compared gay marriage to bestiality. Wow. I don't know if she'll be getting the award at the LGBT thing next time. The First Minister pulled out of an appearance alongside Mohammed Somali in 2019, but pictures reveal she met him at the same event the previous year. Writing about gay marriage in 2016, he said, "Perhaps a day will come where some will desire marriage with animals," in reference to gay marriage. Nicola Sturgeon was today accused of sharing a platform with controversial Iranian cleric who once compared gay marriage to bestiality. The First Minister, this is in the Mail Online, and this is written by David Wilcock. The First Minister pulled out of an appearance alongside Dr. Mohammed Somali at the annual Peace and Unity Conference. Oh, he sounds a real charmer. In 2019, after in 2016 comments were revealed, but according to the Jewish Chronicle today, she had already appeared with him at the same event in 2018 when a Shia cleric was also among the speakers. In 2016, Dr. Shomali, a former UK representative of Supreme Iranian leader Ayatollah Khomeini, published an essay based on a lecture given in 2007. Now, this stems back from the Quran and the Hadith. In the foot, so they're not saying anything that's non-Islamic again. In the footnotes to a section on moral principles, he wrote, 100 years ago, it would have been unthinkable for gay marriage to be sanctioned. It makes us think about where the boundaries will be drawn on what it is and is not acceptable. Perhaps a day will come, certainly not acceptable in Islam, perhaps a day will come where some will desire marriage with animals. So there's Nicola Sturgeon feeling out of place with a whole bunch of guys that follow an ideology that would potentially kill her, throw her off the minaret if she was a lesbian. And the lesbianism found out to be true. Oh, look, there's all the dudes there. Sturgeon has already done that. She married a goat. Yeah, she married a goat. They should come under UK law in this country. Yeah, but if they get more and more than they get, that'll be less and less. It'll be less and less UK law. You would like to think so, Marion? Yeah. You like to think so, Marion? Yeah. I think they follow their own law. A Scottish Government spokeswoman told the Jewish Chronicle, ministers are absolutely committed to welcoming an inclusive country. An inclusive country where everyone can celebrate their identity regardless of the background, culture, religion, sexual orientation, hate, prejudice and discrimination of any kind has no place in modern Scotland. All right. But there was 3 people murdered by a Muslim in Glasgow and I can't even find their names on the internet. Why is that, Nicola? Michelle, you would like to think that. So hate, prejudice, the SNP have been approached for comment, have they? No, it's okay, I won't say anything. Miss Sturgeon and Ian Livingston, the Chief Constable of the Police of Scotland, all right. How many people did you actually capture, Mr. Livingston, for the child rape gangs in Glasgow? How many ones were prosecuted? Had both been slated to appear at the event in 2019? Both pulled out, citing diary clashes after being made aware of Dr. Shomali's previous comments on homosexuality. I would think that's pretty par for the course in Islam. you're lucky they didn't kill you. I think they actually kill homosexuals in Iran. So I'm surprised you were there in the first place, especially you being an LGBTQ supporter, Nicola, or a member of the LGBTQ family. Dr. Shumali is the resident imam and director of Islamic Centre of England. He is a graduate. He's a graduate of Islamic seminaries of Qumum in Iran and has a PhD from the University of Manchester, according to the website. It comes weeks after Twitter removed a slew of accounts that were promoting Scottish independence that were linked to Iran and the Russian government. Oh my God, come on. More than 2 dozen accounts were deleted for efforts to manipulate the platform. The firm said there is no suggestion any of these accounts were linked to the Scottish independence supporters or Dr. Shumali. Oh my goodness, come on. So what have we got now? Oh, it just gets better. Just gets better. So here we go. So we've got gay men in positions of power trying to sexually harass, allegedly it is just now. Don't forget, like Nicola Sturgeon says, I know Alex Salmond was found not guilty of anything criminal, but he still did things that were inappropriate. So an SNP day, I guess that's subjective. An SNP employee has accused two of the party's MPs of sexually harassing him in 2 separate incidents at pubs in London. Oh my goodness. The staffer claimed the first incident took place at Water Poet Pub. So we don't know if the Derek Mackay's boy that he was trying to groom was heterosexual. And I think the gay whip guy in the SNP. So Derek Mackay's gay, this guy who's the whip down in London's gay. So it's like a night at Bennett's, a non-Tuesday night at Bennett's. The head of the SNP are, aren't they? The staffer claimed the first incident took place at the Water Poet Pub in Westminster in 2016 when he was 19. The man, who has not been named, alleged a male SNP MP touched him inappropriately where he was talking with colleagues at a pub. Oh my goodness. Abusing his power. So it's not just heterosexual men that do it, it's homosexual men that want to grope heterosexual men. Oh my goodness. He told the Daily Record, I was sitting on a couch speaking with colleagues and he perched himself on the couch, side of the couch. At the point, he started pointing his finger down, putting his fingers down the back of my collar, touching me inappropriately there. And now, there's one thing getting chatted up by the same sex and groped by the same sex, but it's completely different if you're heterosexual and getting groped by the same sex. So it's better as a heterosexual man or a lesbian woman now for me to be groped by another super straight woman than it would be for me to be touched by any sort of man. So, and it's 10 times worse being groped by somebody who you don't want to be groped by. So, I mean the opposite, the same sex, if you're heterosexual. The accuser said he did not raise the matter further as he didn't want to go head to head with the MP. Oh, he said he made the complaint up. So, this is the point I was trying to get to. So, the SNP throw the brick, throw the wall at Alex Salmond, try to destroy him in every sort of way, get all these complainers, didn't even want to bring forward the complaints, yet cover up the alleged gay sexual activities of certain members under this the gay mafia cabal to actually sexually abuse heterosexual people. that are under them so that they can abuse their positions of authority to sexually abuse them. Then they cover it up. Nicola Sturgeon saying, "Oh, the woman, we've got to protect the woman." But when a heterosexual man is getting groped by one of Nicola Sturgeon's gay cabal, they cover it up. Aye, and that the brick has bounced back. Yeah. So so it's one rule for the women victims who aren't victims because they get found not guilty in a court of law, but Nicola Sturgeon's still pursuing it. But the heterosexual guy who's getting abused by a homosexual in a position of power, allegedly, because this is still allegedly, is kept in power, and it's covered up by the SNP machine. Oh, and but it wasn't a set-up by Alex Salmond. It wasn't a set-up. You've got to protect the woman. But if it's a heterosexual guy that's been abused by one of Nicola Sturgeon's gay mafia, then it's going to be overlooked. It's funny that Blackwood has not been at Westminster since this happened. Yeah, I'll come on to him because I know you wanted me to talk to him about that. This man has later received a phone call from the SNP Westminster leader Ian Blackford, who asked him to attend a meeting. He said the MP, who the article did not name, was present at the meeting and was sitting on the couch crying and apologising. The complainant described it as an ambush rather than an attempt to mediation, accused Mr. Blackford of trying to sweep the alleged incidents under the carpet. So they're sweeping these under the carpet, yet throwing the absolute wall at Alex Salmond. So, I mean, how hypocritical. Oh, one rule for one for another for the SJWs and Nicola Sturgeon. Ah, right, I see. So the SNP did not deny the meeting took place. Oh, so it did take place. Oh, right. They should have shredded it. They should have just set fire to it and redacted it and got the court, the Crown Office to get involved. But claims the accuser's account of what took place at the meeting was highly inaccurate. The Independent has contacted Mr. Blackford's office for comment. The second alleged incident took place at the Strangers Bar, also in Westminster, in January last year. An accuser claimed Accuser claimed a clearly very drunk female MSP propositioned him for sex. Ah, I see. So it's not just happening to the women, it's also happening to the guys. Well, a lot of guys don't come forward. Because I wouldn't come forward and make any formal complaints about the people that sexually abuse me. But it does happen to guys as well. It was highly inaccurate. Why they don't show the evidence exactly. So one rule for one for another. If they want you out the way, then they'll make a smash about it. But if they're part of the gay mafia cabal, then they're going to cover it up. She was grabbing my hair and pulling me closer, saying to me things like, "You should come home with me," he said of the incident. Oh, aye. The MP denied the claims when approached by the Daily Record. She said, "I am aghast at the utterly absurd and malicious allegations which are completely without any foundation whatsoever." Yeah, a bit like Alex Salmond. The essence, but it's easy to make these allegations. That's why we need polygraph tests. Keep telling you guys we want polygraph tests. And if the people who are making the false allegations are false and they're the perpetrators, they should be going to jail as well. But it's too easy for both sides to say, "Oh, he did it, she did it." Polygraph test. About time men started opening their mouths. Well, you really got caught in the act with these sort of things. An SNP spokesperson said the individual has been providing information on appropriate ways to raise a complaint and offers of support. The picture painted of the meeting in Ian Blackford's office is highly inaccurate, and that's why it is essential for everyone involved that due process is followed. If it would have been Alex Salmond, they would have got the police in by now. They'd have been saying no mediation, we're going straight to trial. Advice has been offered on how to make a formal complaint so that a proper investigation can be carried out. Oh my goodness, come on! SNP dubbed secretive party for withholding information in Alex Salmond row. This was 11th of March 2021. Jared Cunha in the Express. The SNP were furiously attacked by Labour's Jackie Baillie during John Sweeney's vote of no confidence.
Not being pedantic for the sake of it. There are meetings in December. There are 2 critical meetings in November on the 2nd and the 13th, the latter involving the First Minister herself, the Permanent Secretary and the Chief of Staff, together with Senior Counsel. It is inconceivable that no notes were taken. The Cabinet Secretary's response to the committee and to this chamber today is that there were no minutes, but there will have been notes. There absolutely will have been notes. Scottish Government lawyers and external counsel are required to take notes. It is a matter of professional duty to do so. The notes taken by them should be released to the committee. There can be no debate about this. Absolutely none. The government have waived legal privilege over other documents. Those notes ultimately belong to the Scottish Government, and there is absolutely no reason for them not to release them immediately to the committee. Unless, of course, they do have something to hide. But the SNP government have form. They withheld documents from the judicial review, resulting in the professional embarrassment of their own senior counsel. They've withheld documents despite a search warrant in the criminal case against Alex Salmond, which is in itself a crime. And they have withheld documents from the committee. There is a pattern of behaviour here, Presiding Officer, and it is one of obstruction, secrecy and contempt for the institution of this Parliament. Presiding Officer, the motion of no confidence may be in John Swinney, but I am clear that it is in the behaviour of the secretive National Party that is truly outrageous.
So perhaps instead of chasing phantoms, the opposition should focus on what is there, because it sets out very clearly the mistake the government made and the lessons the government needs to learn from that, and the lessons I am determined that the government will learn from that.
Ruth Davison. Presiding Officer, I asked the First Minister a very specific question, and whatever that was, it wasn't an answer. We have since learned that from the moment that Roddy Dunlop wrote that note on the 17th of December, to the time when the government finally conceded, the bill exceeded £100,000. Perhaps even 200,000, but we don't know for sure because the government won't tell us their side of the bill. Now, before the First Minister's committee session, we know that Queen's Counsel stated, and I quote, the least worst option was to concede the case. That was on the 6th of December 2018, a month before the case was finally collapsed. What we didn't know last week, and we only found out on Friday, was that the First Minister personally disputed this advice. And we know this because Leslie Evans sent a note that said that she and the First Minister were unclear about what has changed since the last notes in the First Ministerial meeting. Again, I'll put it to her, if she had conceded then, hundreds of thousands of pounds would have been saved. So why did the First Minister think that she was a better lawyer than Roddy Dunlop QC and the advocate Christine O'Neill? First Minister.
I didn't, and I absolutely, most definitely don't. But what I do know is that it is my job as First Minister to ask questions, to query things when I don't fully understand what is being put before me, and to make sure I have as full as possible an understanding of the decisions that lie before me. And I actually think it would be more remarkable and more deserving of criticism if I didn't ask questions like the one that Ruth Davidson has just suggested
when
that
it
I
was
did.
gay men harassing straight men. So there was no questions asked.
So perhaps instead of chasing phantoms, the opposition should focus on what is there, because it sets out very clear.
It was all covered up and put underneath the swept under the carpet. Ruthie Baby looks like she's lost some weight, for going down with the Baronesses. I think that's crazy that she's away down there. She was getting into a prime just now. Grinch behind Nicky's peering at every single SNP. Labour Deputy Leader Jackie Bailey lashes out at the SNP, accusing them of being the secretive National Party. No, they're the GIMP Party, Jackie, just like your party's a GIMP party. She also insisted that while the vote of no confidence was against duty leader John Sweeney, which I was close, if the Greens had a backbone, which again, gay, wee Moby's gay as well, the five had flipped, he would have been going. So I wasn't that far off getting it correct with Sweeney. He should have gone for his incompetence. And if the report, the actual the education report is released, there might be another vote of no confidence in him. So we've had 3 votes of no confidence, and the only reason he's managed to stay is because of the Green Party, which he should have been going long before now. Look at the old bag behind him. It was really against the Labour Party, and the SNP supposedly withheld information to the investigative Scottish Committee. Miss Bailey claimed Mr Sweeney and the SNP had repeatedly withheld information regarding... Oh, yeah, come on. Where did you go there? Where did that go? Where did that go? These documents clear to heart. Mr Sweeney, defend his actions. Bailey, the SNP withheld documents judicial review, resulting in the professional embarrassment of their own senior counsel. They have withheld documents despite the search warrant in the criminal case. I don't know what's happening there. It seems to be jumping. Withheld documents from the committee. There is a pattern of behaviour here. It is one of obstruction, secrecy and contempt for the institutions of the Parliament. Well, she's not wrong there. She closed by saying the motion of no confidence may be on John Swinney, but I am clear that it is the behaviour of the secretive National Party that is truly outrageous. Mr Sweeney had defended his actions and insisted that he and the SNP behaved properly in the handing of information. No, they didn't, for the committee and the Parliament. And he said these documents are clear. Our legal advice was optimistic about the government's prospects for success at the start. It became gradually but progressively less optimistic over time. It is only in December that the advice concluded and that our case was no longer stable, and we should concede. Indeed, but don't forget they weren't handing documents to the legal counsel as well. Indeed, as late as the 11th of December, ministers were advised that we should continue within a matter of days of being advised that the case was not statable. We have taken the decision to concede that was right and proper. Significantly, however, what is going on with that? Indeed, 11th, blah, 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 I concede. Significantly, however, the comprehensively disapproved claims we have continued the case in defiance of legal advice. That is categorically untrue. These documents put that beyond doubt. Well, I don't think it did. Let's see what the comments. Some of the comments look quite interesting. Deceit, cover-ups, failed memories, refusal to hand over important notes, documents. The list goes on, and yet they still act so brazen. Beggars belief, it really does. When's the outcome of the inquiry? Come on, folks, have a heart. Anyone who faces an inquiry and has been briefed up to the hilt. Oh, it just seems to skip. I don't. That's so annoying. Briefed up to the hilt. I'm only going to read this last one. Briefed up to the hilt and had time to reflect on how to spin on her answer is entitled to forget a few dozen of or more incidents and reams of documentary evidence, haven't they? Folks, oh, brilliant. Right, that's fine. We'll finish that one. So here's a wee list of how many. Now, don't forget how many I told you, between up to 7%, but roughly about 4% of people are gay in the overall population. But let's have a wee look at, see, I'm not going to go through that. I'm going to stick to the members of the Scottish Parliament. So here we go. So these are all the gay members, and so we've got 2 in the Liberals. Considering there's only 5. Oh no, they're out. They must be old. So we're only looking for the present ones then. I thought there was actually a full. Oh, there's Ruthie Baby. So Patrick Harvey of the Greens. Although I thought his wee ginger cohort was gay as well. I don't think this is a comprehensive list. A major Scotland should be like Germany. Maybe it should never be allowed to govern itself. No, I don't think so. I just think you need to get the right people in. Patrick Harvey, and there's wee Patrick, and there's one from the SNP. I don't think there's one from the SNP. Nicola Sturgeon, there's another one. Who else is gay in the SNP? I think there's a few gay members of the SNP, not just one. There's so this list doesn't include Derek Mackay, who's been proven to be gay, or who's the wee fat. So Patrick Grady has had to resign as well. So remember, Scott Mackay was was right, Nicola's right-hand man. So, but Patrick Grady has also got a high job in the Whigs, which means he basically controls the Parliamentary Party. So SNP Westminster Chief Whip Patrick Grady resigns after sexual harassment. So this is a gay man who's very high up, sexually harassing heterosexual men, allegedly. The SNP Chief Whip at Westminster has resigned after being named as one of the two nationalist MPs accused by party staffers of sexually harassing them. And this is a gay man trying to grope heterosexual men by Richard Percival, so some name of the Percival family. 10th of March 2021. Let's see old Moggy. Always good for a
I never realised that our separatist friends would model themselves on a kneeling comedy. It seems to have become passport to Pimlico. There are no internal borders within the United Kingdom. It is one country, I am glad to say, and the fact that there is a difference between borders and between districts and areas. This is self-evident. A border is something that you may stop people crossing. Even I am not suggesting that we make people from Gloucestershire present their passports before coming into Somerset. And the passport to Pimlico, the honourable gentleman will remember, was when Pimlico was thought to, I think, have belonged to the Duke of Burgundy or some such, and therefore had become an independent state within the United Kingdom. Our separatist friend wants to do the same and insist on passports to Scotland, and Mrs. Sturgeon wishes to build a wall. Unfortunately, Mrs. Sturgeon's policy isn't fictional. Many of us wish that it were and that the separatists were a bit more fictional, but they're not. They're here, and they bang on about it constantly. But we are still one country, and Scotland benefits enormously from being part of the United Kingdom.
So Patrick Grady. Now, remember I said about the gay cabal? Remember I told you guys ages ago about the gay cabal? So now we've got Derek Scott, which, funnily enough, is not listed as a gay member of the SNP. He's not there. Nicola Sturgeon's not there. I'm just curious to know how many gay members. So let's just count them just now they're in. So in the dark grey, these are previous gay members. So that's 2, 3, 4. Oh, he is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got nearly 9 out of 126. And that's the ones we know about. That's not the other ones that we don't know about. Which is quite incredible. I mean, it's incredible the number that we've actually got in there. I think we've got probably about 20%, if you include the ones that you don't actually hear about being gay or are not out of the closet yet. So we've got Patrick Harvey as the spineless wee character from the Greens Party, and I'm sure his wee sidekick is definitely on the gay list. We've now got one of the SNP. I don't know Fitzpatrick, Mr. Fitzpatrick. We've got Ruthie Baby. She's a big lesbo. We've got Derek Mackay, like 16-year-old boys. We've got this chap, Kevin Stewart. Never heard of him. Jean Freeman, obviously a feminist, Marxist, lesbian, and man-hater. Jenny Guthrie, another one that was doing a bit of man-hating earlier on. We've got Jamie Green, Conservative, and Anne Wells as well. Resigned, and somebody resigned from Parliament as well. So I don't think that's an exhaustive list of the number of gay people in Scottish Parliament just now. I think there's other gay people who are either not come out or just not actually told us. I think there's more gay people than that. And we've also got, obviously, but my point is that the gay cabal are at the top. Like, go back to Mr. Grady here. Patrick Grady, SNP MP for Glasgow North, became the party's chief whip. So he's very important. The chief whip's a very important role. He controls basically the people, the other MSPs down there, has the dirt on the other MSPs to control them. In the House of Commons in June 2017, in a statement this morning, the SNP said a formal complaint had been lodged with the party against Mr. Grady for trying to homosexualise heterosexual guys. It comes after the party staffer detailed 2 incidents on Monday regarding 2 nationalist MPs. The staffer who worked for the party in Westminster claimed the first incident occurred at the Water Poet in Shoreditch in 2016, which allegedly involved Mr. Grady. The SNP employee, so it was a guy in power abusing a gay man in power, abusing a staffer, heterosexual staffer, but covered up again. So it's only if they want to go after you, does it become a problem. The SNP employee who worked for the party in Westminster claimed that he was with colleagues when a male nationalist MP perched himself on the side of the couch and started putting his fingers down the back of his collar. It was alleged the nationalist MP also grabbed the staffer's hair. Aye. It's a bit fruity. Or maybe he's a bit jealous because he didn't have any of his own. Look at that, Mr. Grady. His balls are cute. The complainer did not raise a complaint immediately, but claimed it was brought to the attention of the SNP Westminster leader Ian Blackford by a third party. The staffer was subsequently called to a meeting with Mr. Blackford and the male SNP MP. It was claimed during the meeting it was alleged the politician was crying. Fucking hell. Was crying and he apologised for his actions. The party employee claimed that he felt the meeting was an ambush by Mr. Blackford. Oh my goodness. There's Mr. Blackford. He looks a bit on the gay side as well, doesn't he? So they added that at time I felt the only thing I could say was that it was okay. It wasn't going to tear this guy down in front of me. It was pretty hard for me to watch. I wasn't going to tear this guy down in front of me. It was pretty hard to watch for me to watch. But the SNP said the account of the meeting was not accurate, with a spokesman adding the picture painted of the meeting in Mr. Blackford's office is highly inaccurate. A party statement added Mr. Grady had stepped aside as chief whip while an investigation was underway. It continued, the SNP has today received a formal complaint that now allows due process to take place, and we will not be commenting further while an investigation is underway. The staffer also detailed the second incident with a female SNP MP regarding an incident in Westminster Strangers Bar, a popular haunt with MPs and the House of Commons employees in January 2020. The party staffer told the Daily Record the female MP's concern was very, very drunk, adding she was grabbing my hand and pulling me closer and saying to me things like, "You should come home with me," fruity. And she was saying things that were completely inappropriate. Oh, fantastic. In terms of what she wanted to do when I went to her home with her. Oh, aye. However, the female Nationalist MP denies allegations and they are utterly absurd. Nothing to do with me, nothing to see here. Where's the magpies? Where's the magpies? Nothing to see here. Party sources told the Express this morning we take matters of this nature very seriously and strongly uphold all party values and policies. Very interesting. So, and now we've got my James English, fantastic James English podcast, great, going to strength, and Alex Kearney talking about Romanian children being molested in Nicola Sturgeon's constituency, yet being covered up.
She done the scoot the jacket. I'm sure she's a lollipop when she came as well. Now, what we never did was leave our details with they women. But they women are out there somewhere. And they'll recall that. And maybe they'll see this one day, and maybe they live there still.
I actually read something yesterday. 2 young boys were getting raped, I think 14s. And one of them escaped. They got a guy, the guy went back, beat a guy to death. And the guy's just been charged with murder. Jailed. So it is a sticky situation, but all you can do is keep fighting and keep pushing forward. We'll try and get a bit of backstory about you now. You've been in the Marines. Where did you grow up?
So this is a good one about grooming gangs, but this is about in Nicola Sturgeon's constituency that there is meant to be high profile government, high and legal and MSPs and no wonder Anna Sawars want to take over the constituency. And all of these people are in Nicola Sturgeon's constituency, children going to the local clinics, this guy's alleging, with STDs and being covered up by Nicola Sturgeon. Oh my goodness, come on. We're putting two and two together here. Do I need to go back to the Muslim rape gangs in Glasgow that were being covered up by Nicola Sturgeon and Hamza Yusuf as well? Oh my goodness, come on. Alex Salmond, they're prepared to cover all of that up, but Alex Salmond's a bad one. Here we go. Who's this guy? This is funny. This is James Rankin. I'm going to hijack this video, James. Thank you very much.
How shoot?
As a national seeker of justice, racial issues, it is time to acknowledge Britain's worst ever racial injustice. The industrial scale sexual abuse of white children. I am addressing Britain's grooming gang epidemic. For those unaware, and we can only assume there are many, or there should have been riots in the street, grooming gangs is a euphemism for bands of foreign paedophiles allowed to operate in Britain under the ethos of multiculturalism, which is another euphemism for an institutional anti-white ideology favouring immigrants over natives, to the extent of allowing the most heinous crimes against tens and probably hundreds of thousands of British children, while silencing and imprisoning the brave few who spoke out. I'm going to list towns in which grooming gangs have been convicted, and I will emphasise the race of the victims, which is crucial because we ignored them because of their colour. We ignored their tears because they belonged to those who are white. Take my own Glasgow home. The victims are white. The victims in Derby, white. Bradford and Leeds, white. Manchester, white. Middlesbrough, white. Colchester, white. Telford and Huddersfield, white. Sheffield and London, white. Leicester and Aylesbury, white. Preston and Canterbury, white. Raped because they're white. Where's justice? Keighley and Slough, white. Peterborough, white. Rochdale, white. Oxford and Blackpool, white. Rotherham, Bristol, Coventry, Wrexham, High Wycombe, white. Ipswich, Newcastle, Chesham, white. Halifax, Burton and Banbury, white. And that's no the half it. These children are allowed to be terrorised because they are natives of this country. We sacrifice them on the altar of multiculturalism. This is a collective failure on every single
one of us. So I hope we're sitting uncomfortably, because these should be uncomfortable truths for us all.
So, I think that's me done. Interesting to see the amount of the people who are gay in the Parliament, and to see if it's proportionate to the amount of gay people in the general populace. White. Yeah, and now he's brought in his anti-white hate speech bill that will only apply to white people, won't apply to anybody else. Guys, I'll do a full commentary on Humza Useless's hate speech bill. I'm sorry for keeping you yesterday. Thanks for putting up for my technical issues today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was worth waiting for. You know I love you guys. I hope I covered that quite a bit. But don't forget about the gay cabal under Nicola Sturgeon. And the allegations that Nicola Sturgeon, I didn't start, but the allegations were already there that Nicola Sturgeon is a lesbian. We certainly know she's an intersectional SJW, postmodernist, Marxist, globalist, GIMP, globalist Islamo-Marxist party, which is what they're going to change the name to very soon, because she knows that she doesn't like getting called the Scottish National Party, because Nicola Sturgeon is the last anything but a nationalist. Guys, I love my baby gorillas. Thanks very much. 1990. Hope you all have a good time. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope it was worth waiting for. Under his own hate speech bill, he's actually breaking his own hate speech laws. That's right, mate. That's exactly right. Gays used to have. And now, listen, and I just want to say for the record, there's nothing wrong with being gay. I don't have any hatred for gay people at all. But if you're being gay and SJW, that's a problem. That's a problem. So, guys, I love you guys. Thanks very much. Hopefully feel better. I'll go to the doctor and hopefully feel better. as well. I love you guys.